Time I'm missing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is joining us.
Good.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Fred Vogel,
Here.
Steve Brunner,
Here.
Jenna Burnett, Dave Reister,
Yes.
and Ron Steinberg.
Number 3, public comment. Any public comment this morning? Hearing none, we'll go to item 4, public works lead position.
Interviews were conducted with 4 internal applicants that submitted letters of interest for the lead public works department position. Jim, Greg, myself, and Melissa sat in on those interviews. After some thought and consideration, Jim and Greg and myself are recommending Jake Gaylor, who is the current mechanic and is actually in a lead position already of that department, be considered as the lead public works position.
And that will leave open another lead position. Is that going to be filled in?
There's already someone that's assisting in that department, so we're not in an immediate rush to replace the lead mechanic position. And I would say there's a probationary period associated with the move anyway, so give it like 60 days on the other side of May approval by council.
Okay, a motion's needed to take action on the recommendation. Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None, ayes have it. Number 5, public works maintenance position.
Greg is roughly, he's a little bit over 60 days into his 90-day probationary period. By Jim and my accounts, all is going as well as we could have expected and then some. By the time council would vote to approve at the May council meeting a permanent replacement for Greg's open position, he would be at the 90-day mark. So just because of timing, needing to advertise, interview, etc., the request is to allow us to advertise and then move forward with the hiring process to replace Greg's open position.
Greg wants to keep this position.
I'm sorry, what?
You want to keep this position?
This position, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
No.
Okay, need a motion to take action on the recommending that council approve the hiring of public works maintenance employee.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None, ayes have it, motion carries. 6, police department staffing.
That was easy, Jim. I wish they were all that easy.
Out.
So, as you all know, we are down an officer now with the resignation of Sergeant Moyer. What I'm asking here, I'm not sure if everybody got a chance to see what I submitted as a proposal, is that I'm asking that we not only replace the sergeant position, I'm asking that we create the lieutenant position earlier than I was going to, because we're going to be doing this now anyway. It just kind of seems to be making sense. What it would require is we have 2 remaining people left on our civil service eligibility list. I have not reached out to them as of yet. I don't know that they're still there and if they're still a viable candidate to fill positions. So that would, if we go forward and you approve this, that I would reach out to them, find out if they are still interested. If one or both are not, then I would be asking that we would activate civil service to begin the testing process. As far as the promotional requirements, I have listed in here what is needed. For a sergeant, they have to have 5 years of continuous experience. For a lieutenant, it's 6 years plus 1 year as a supervisor now, as a sergeant. So as I see things for lieutenant, we have a possibility of 2 people that I believe would put in for it or are eligible to put in for it, versus out of the 3 that are remaining, or 4 that are remaining. With 1 in the drop, I don't think that he's a viable candidate. I don't believe that the other would put in for it. As far as sergeant goes, we have 5 officers that I believe are eligible. I believe all 5 were put in, but I can't say that for sure. As timing goes, there's a testing process. My thought is to use the same company for sergeant position as we did the last time. That test was passed by everybody, so I think that was a good test. But it is very labor intensive. There's a lot of things that they need to read and review. So they had 2 months last time, and that was pushing it, because we were kind of rushing things again. I'd like to give them at least 3 this time. As far as lieutenant, which I know they have a test for it, I don't know as much about what's involved for it, but I would suggest that we run the tests at the same time, kind of go through this process. I was reviewing the civil service rules. The lieutenant is not part of the labor association, but the way the civil service rules are written, they're still going through the same process and the same requirements for the promotion. So they have to have a written test, they have to have go through the PT test, there has to be an interview, things like that. So to me, it just makes the most sense that we keep it all together at the same time and do it all at one time. So with our officer, I have in here the flow chart with Officer Figueroa and the academy. You can see how we're kind of set up right now. With Detective Anders and his statements, I talked to him about it again yesterday, that it's still his intent to leave in July of next year. It's not gonna drop, he's just planning on going. With Sergeant Karstens, he's currently in the drop, so he could go at any time. As the weather changes again, he'll probably start putting feelers out. So by hiring those 2 additional, Maria was supposed to be that stopgap for when we know definitely Darren, or pretty definite that Darren's leaving, that we were not gonna be understaffed for a long period of time. So she's gonna end up filling a gap as things get moved around, as people move up into that sergeant position, somebody moves into lieutenant. We would then need somebody else out of our 2 to fill that position, and then that second is that stopgap for when they definitely leave. I spoke with the academy. Their next academy starts July 10th. So as I said, these 2 that are on our list need the academy. So this would give us time that they've had backgrounds done, but I've told them we're gonna need to check between when we stopped until now to make sure nothing else has popped up, and that then it gives us a little bit more time. We're not rushing to get the psychological, the physical, and the physical agility test and everything like we did for this last time when we hired Maria. So I'd like to get the process started sooner rather than later for that, because there is that July deadline. If one or both are not available, I would suggest because then we're gonna have to do the whole process. So I'm not as much in a rush then, because we have till January then, till that next academy starts. We're not gonna get the process done between now and July if we have to hire. If one is there, I say we go with that one and then start a list and try to hire a second one and get them into the academy for that January, that being that goal. And until they come out, that's gonna make it, Detective Anders, if does what he says, when they come out, he'll be leaving, so there won't be much of that overlap there. So, I mean, I'm glad to answer any questions that anybody may have as to my reasonings, as to what I'm talking about, and what I'm thinking.
When is Kirstein's drop?
I'm sorry?
When is Kirstein's drop expire?
26.
And how's his budget?
Well, I'm just trying to do a timeline here. So,
Keith, just watch what you say, public.
yeah, no, got it. So the 2 that one's in the academy now, and you hired one that's actively on payroll now.
Yes.
When did she go on the payroll, the one in the academy?
When she started,
So
we
she-
hired, yeah, she
she's-
started that next day after
Yeah,
council
so she
meeting.
started the academy. So those 2 were they number 21 and 22, or are they number 22 and 23 of the 21 budget?
So Maria was taking us to 22. Selecki was replacing Henny.
Okay,
So
so,
that dropped, so that was 21, and then she was the 22,
right,
to then take us to the 21, how I planned on keeping us till, what I hoped was 2025, when we get that
and,
lieutenant
and,
position.
and other than the resignation, was there another one that dropped to make it 21, or was she still number 22?
No, with the resignation, she became 21.
Okay, with the resignation, she became 21, okay.
That's correct.
So, right now,
Budgeting right now.
budgeting right now, she's +1 currently, until that goes, till we're finished with the resignation issue.
Yes.
But she's technically
Yeah.
22. So the lieutenant would be, through all this process, when would the lieutenant be, when would you put the lieutenant in place?
I don't foresee the sergeant or the lieutenant in place till the end of this year.
Okay, so,
Because they have to, like I said, I'd like to give them at least 3 months to do the testing. I believe because the lieutenant is not it's not a contracted, they're not part of the labor union, there's nothing in the contract about how much the lieutenant gets paid. That's why I put in there, I think that that's something that a discussion should be had as to what those compensation package is gonna look like for that person, so that, I mean, they can decide if they even wanna do that. They may say, no, that's not, I'm gonna do better as a sergeant than I will a lieutenant. So I think we need to know that if, going into it, that they know what their compensation is gonna be, so that they know, like, if they get it, they're not gonna say, I don't want this, and decline it. So
I think you're.
I think we need to have time for that to occur,
Yeah.
and then we have the test months down, and then there's the, we have to have the written test, and there's interviews, and civil service certifying list, so that's all gonna take time. And so I don't foresee this happening till, as I said, September, I think October, you know?
So do you think you'll be able to come to us with a proposal about the lieutenant's package at the next personnel meeting?
Well, I think that this is, maybe it has to go to finance, but I think, I don't know what I can speak as counsel is what you're willing to compensate this person at. So that's why I think that this has to almost be,
I think it needs
Some-
to come here first and then move.
Well, I think you're gonna have to look at the potential candidates that would be eligible to take the sergeant exam and look at what their total compensation was last year. Because obviously, if you're gonna promote them, they're gonna want some incentive to be promoted. So I think you're gonna have to look at what that package looked like with their overtime and with their salaries, and then determine, maybe get some comps from some other departments of what a lieutenant in other departments were making of comparable size, maybe go to Exeter, maybe Spring Township, maybe Cumberland, something like that, find out what those lieutenants are making.
Wasn't any of the lieutenants we had?
Yes.
Yeah, we can look at that, but I mean, that was 3 years ago.
Well,
So the number, if those other 2 people that are currently on the civil service list, if they're still available, and they both need the academy, when does that academy start? July? So we'd start paying them in July.
and that'll be at the academy rate, which is at $25 an hour. So their rate is, combined is about what sergeant that resigned was making.
Combined.
Right.
Yeah, you really don't, you probably aren't gonna have a huge budget impact until October or November, assuming the
Right.
sergeant and the lieutenant would go into effect then. And that gives us time to take a look at it then.
Seems like the easiest question is whether to hire, pursue the 2 people who are still on the list.
I don't know that you have a choice.
No, I think we need to do that.
Yeah, let's just see if they're first available.
Yeah,
we gotta start getting in motion.
that's,
That's the key.
Well, in order to see if they're interested, you're gonna have to come up with a package first.
No,
no, not from Kellogg.
Not the lieutenant.
Yeah, we're not
No,
talking
we're not
about,
talking about-
patrol. We're talking about the 2 left on the civil service list. We want him to be able to encourage them to See if they're still
Yeah, there's still two people on the list, we gotta see if they're still,
They were on the list. Yeah, they
were on the list, we don't even know if they're even
So
available.
it's gonna take a lot of time for this to unravel.
If they're not available, then we're back to, you know, square one.
But if they are available, we need to take steps to try to get them in the
Well, I was
academy.
talking with Hank and Darren yesterday, and they didn't say that.
So there's there's a motion here that's necessary, recommending fire and police to review. Is that right? And then further recommend council activate the civil service commission, begin control officer hiring process, as well as initiate promotion testing for available sergeant and lieutenant
I don't
position.
think so. I don't think we activated. I think we have two left on the list, so I think all we need to do for that is authorize the chief to see whether they are still
Right.
interested and take whatever steps appropriate, hire them so they can start the academy as well.
Okay, that's
See
a
if we
thousand
can
words
find that
to
out
replace
by-
activate. What do we?
Well,
You don't have to.
Melissa
I'm
can
gonna-
fix it.
I'll start that after we get done today, you know. I've just been waiting, cause I wanna,
And those two candidates were
Exactly.
satisfactory.
they passed the backgrounds. I know that the one for sure, he's in the state police list, and that's moving along. I don't know if he's high enough, but they're like everybody else, they're hiring a lot. So I don't know if he's going to make that cut. As far, he's gonna make it as far as passing, I don't know if they're gonna, I don't know where he's at on their list, if they're gonna hire that many.
He
The
might
other
prefer-
one, I don't, he's passed our background thus far. I don't know if he's on any other list though anywhere and has gotten picked up, and that's a possibility. So that's why I don't know that they're available. And if they're not, then we would need to activate civil service and start that
Well,
process.
you should be able to find out if they're available before the council meeting, so.
I plan on, when I leave here, to start that, to call and find out if it's authorized. So I should go by F and P on Monday. Oh,
Do you want
So,
this added
yeah,
as a potential agenda item to fire and police to activate civil service?
Yeah,
Yeah,
But is that,
or
is
is that
that the
go
rule to
to
activate if
council?
they're still on the list?
No, but saying he's gonna have an answer by next Monday.
Right, but if he
Process.
doesn't, if fewer than two are available, then we need to activate civil service.
So this is what I'm saying, just have it as an agenda item, we either
Yeah.
table it, 'cause no action is
Okay.
necessary, or it's there.
You're not gonna wait till fire and police for him to contact us.
No, we can do it
You
today.
activate. if
we're gonna
we're
find
ready.
out what's going on, we can't do anything until we get a formal thing to, if we need to activate,
Right, but I'm saying, you're not gonna hold him up.
No,
No, he
No,
can-
but
you
the
can call
motion
right now.
doesn't say anything about allowing him to begin to review that. Do we need a motion to authorize the chief to look at the civil service list?
I don't think so. I mean, I think the action for today's meeting would be to authorize the chief to contact the two individuals who are on the list.
That's, okay.
And then at F and P, which is only a few days away, we can then take action to recommend that the civil service process begin if necessary.
Okay,
And that was, I think,
you get that, Melissa?
practical.
What he said.
So a motion needed to take action to authorize the chief to check on the civil service commission listees, whether they're interested or they're
and
still
if they
there.
are still interested and are available, am I able to tell them, look, we're looking at hiring
Yes.
two?
Yes,
Yes,
and then you need to take the steps necessary.
I could bring that to fire and police on Monday, what I've learned.
Yes,
yes.
After speaking with them.
that'd be great.
No, move as quickly as it possibly move then. Somebody wanna make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none, ayes have it, motion carries. Number 7 is executive session for personnel matters. Is there still a need for that?
Not unless anybody here has anything they wanna
Okay.
discuss.
Any, hearing no need for that, we'll move on to item 8, old business. Any- Anything, any old business? Hearing none, any new business? Hearing none, I'll hear a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So a second? Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, none.